Hello and welcome to Media Dialogues with Storyboard18. I am Delshad Irani and today I'm speaking to Mathew Chandy, Managing Director and Sleep Evangelist at Duroflex, and the company's Group CEO, Sridhar Balakrishnan. We're going to dig into the key trends and insights driving the brand's business and marketing strategies, a new campaign, and how the company is transforming to meet consumers and stakeholders' expectations. Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18. Gentlemen, it's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us. Duroflex, of course, has been a family run business for a very long time. And over the past few years, you have been sort of transitioning the business into a more sort of professional setup, corporate structure. Just let's dial back a little bit over these sort of transformative years that you've had. And now, of course, that you're bringing in Sridhar as the group CEO. But going back, tell me how challenging that transition has been for you. And what are some of the factors continuing to drive this transition for Duroflex?
Sure, thanks for having us, Dilshad. So I've been in the business for 10 years now, but like you said, we're a third generation family in the business. And I think one of our early goals was to make sure that we survive way past our third generation. And as you know, most family businesses don't get past the third generation. So, we're 60 years into the business. I've been here for 10 years, and I think always believed that a combination of promoters and professionals is what it takes to scale a business and to scale a business across many generations. So over the last 10 years, we have constantly professionalized the business, brought in really good professionals from other good industries. And it's been a wonderful experience. I think we've benefited. The professionals have done well with us as well. Of course, we sometimes have some misses, but far more hits than misses. And the business has grown 10 times in the last 10 years, so far more hits than misses. And bringing Sridhar on board was just a next step in that direction of professionalizing the business and separating ownership and management. And we'd like to list the company in the near future. So these are all just big, strong steps in that direction. It's been challenging, but fun.
But you're past those setbacks and those few years that were a little challenging for the company, of course, which you mentioned previously as well.
Yeah, well, we're past those setbacks. We think there'll always be challenges. There'll always be
True.
some setbacks, but I think you just keep moving forward, and we're definitely past that. Yeah.
Right. And of course, you have Sridhar now on board, who's just joined recently as the group CEO for Duroflex and Sleepyhead and all these sort of brands that you're building. Sridhar, tell me, what was your motivation? Of course, you've come from legacy FMCG company, Marico. What was your motivation, of course, to switch categories essentially also now? Join Duroflex as the group CEO. What went through your head?
I think one is if I were to look at the category, the income levels are rising across India. And if one were to look at the consumers in the last few years, there has been a radical shift in the consumer orientation towards health, of which sleep is an integral part. So, at least the way we look at it is that this category is certainly a tailwind category, which is likely to see a lot of action in coming times. The second is I was very impressed with the promoter's vision of actually becoming thought leaders in the sleep solution space and thereby creating brands which are loved by the consumers in the sleep and comfort space. Also, if one were to look at Duroflex's track record, a 10x in the last 10 years is a super performance. And also, if you look at some of the steps that they've taken, whether it's in terms of having an entire range in Duroflex or in terms of launching Sleepyhead to make a foray into the D2C space, I think it indicates a strong orientation towards the consumers. So overall, all in all, given the stage the category is in and the vision that the promoters have, things seem to be an exciting place to be in, hence the choice.
Absolutely. And like we were speaking earlier as well, there is an awareness about the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
just not about beauty sleep anymore. It's about sleep helping you to perform better in any aspect of your life. And while we'll get to that aspect of our conversation today, let me just sort of then come back to you, Mathew, and ask what are some of the goals that you've set for the company, for the brands? And I'll ask the same of Sridhar, right? What are some of the goals you set for yourself? And what's the timeline for some of you? Mentioned, of course, you are looking at listing the company as well. What are those stepping stones? What'll get you there?
So I think the long-term goal, having grown 10 times in the last 10 years, is to try and do that again. And that's one thing we'll be doing, working on doing together. So 2 years back, we entered the 1,000 crore club, which was a big milestone for us. So once again, we're looking forward and saying, can 1,000 become 10,000 one day? So that's the first big, but it's a long-term goal. We'd like to list in the next few years. It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. I think a lot depends on business and when we feel we're ready to list. I think listing it's not a final destination for us. I think we'll talk about it really improving the sustainability of our business performance. And I think at the right stage, we'd like to list probably by 2026. In terms of what we want to do for the brands, I think we have a really young, fun, quirky, digital-first brand in Sleepyhead.
Right.
We'd really like to grow that brand because we think India is still very young. India is still very fun-loving, loves its entertainment, and lifestyle is very important as well. So I think Sleepyhead will continue to remain a very important, young, dynamic part of our brand portfolio. I was saying, in the recently concluded World Cup, we had a fabulous run where we were selling a lot of recliners as people sat back, rested, enjoyed the World Cup. So I think making some good, strong forays also into the comfort space. Whereas Duroflex will continue to play strongly in the health space and in the sleep solution space. I think we have a real niche over there, and we've carved out a niche in being, sleep to perform, sleep for elite performance, but also sleep for beauty, sleep for productivity, sleep for your health. So Duroflex will play a slightly more serious, evolved role as a sleep expert. We have a wonderful team of designers and medical professionals who help us to design products and experiences around that. So we would like to be the go-to brand for
Right,
for
and
sleep
Sleepyhead,
solutions.
of course, like you mentioned during the World Cup, record sales of recliners.
Yeah.
While people sort of sat back and watched the matches. Lots of excitement on the pitch, off the pitch as well, of course. Sridhar, what are some of the goals that you have in mind? And especially, of course, when Mathew was talking about sustainably growing the business, right? You're looking at 10 years, not sort of just like a 5-year plan. So what do you have in mind? What are some of the goals that you've set for the business and for the brands?
So I'll break it into two parts. I think one is the long-term vision for the business. I think clearly it's to position Duroflex as a thought leader in the sleep solution space, and to ensure that Sleepyhead and Duroflex become the most loved consumer brands in the sleep and comfort space. And we strongly believe that if we grow 10x in the next 10 years, we will definitely be the largest brand in the sleep and comfort space in times to come. In terms of immediate priorities, I think one is to grow profitably, which is how do we strengthen our core market of South, and how do we grow more profitability in rest of India. And also, as Miggy just pointed out, it's also important to set up the organization for the IPO in terms of sustained, consistent business performance, building new engines of growth, putting together a top-class team, and ensuring that we put in systems and processes which ensures that we are able to deliver sustainably. So I think these are the long-term and the short-term priorities. In terms of clear specifics, we intend embarking on a visioning exercise over the next few months to clearly charter out what our milestones will be in the growth journey for the coming times.
And you mentioned, of course, other growth engines for the company. We spoke about Sleepyhead, digital first brand, you know, very youthful, targeting a new generation of Indian consumers who want it all, let's face it. They want to sleep, they want to Netflix, they want to do everything. What are some of the other growth engines that you have in mind?
So I think
Any gaps that you see in the market? Of course, Duroflex has gone from just a regional brand to a national brand. Where are you seeing the growth
so
potential?
I'll possibly address it at two levels. One is from a brand standpoint. We all strongly believe that India is a large market and this space is definitely going to grow. And with both these brands positioned very sharply, I think we have the opportunity to really address a much larger consumer base as compared to what we would have been able to with just one brand in our portfolio. And the beauty of it is the way these brands have been marketed, we all feel that there is an opportunity to really sharpen the differentiation and address a larger consumer base. Then we'll have to now, then as Mickey just pointed out, we've gotten into furnitures, and in times to come, we will then figure out what are the adjacencies that lend themselves to extensions with respect to both the brands. That's actually work in progress. But certainly mattresses and furniture are two areas that definitely are in the marketplace, and where we believe that there's a lot of leg room or headroom for us to grow in both these segments with both the brands at times to come.
And of course, we were talking about the sleep economy right
Yes.
now, the awareness in sort of the consumer space, mind space. So that is truly evolving. But let me just also ask you, when you mentioned, of course, you want to build these two brands very distinctly, and I'll sort of get your thoughts on this as well, Mathew. Does that mean you are perhaps having a more conscious way of detaching Duroflex from Sleepyhead and Sleepyhead from Duroflex? What are your thoughts on that?
I wish I had absolute clarity, but both brands actually grew up with a certain level of detachment because they grew in very in different business units, and it was quite intentional as well. Sleepyhead was meant to stay younger, much more of a lifestyle brand. So it also didn't draw a lot on Duroflex. So actually both brands grew up on their own. Both have achieved scale now.
And in terms of Sleepyhead, what does it contribute in the overall sort of business, and where is it at?
So in terms of revenues, Sleepyhead is about a 200 crore brand. It's about 15% of our revenues. Through Sleepyhead, I think Duroflex group, the entire group became far more digital, far more D2C. So overall D2C is now 1/3 of our revenues. So Sleepyhead is 15% of that, and we do an almost equivalent business in Duroflex as well.
And it would be fair to say that that going forward is going to be a massive growth engine for Duroflex as a whole, as the group, when it comes to the D2C play.
Yeah. So I think as Mickey pointed out, the beauty of the current portfolio is both the brands are very differentiated in terms of the consumer audience they both target. So I think where they will continue to operate and cater to different consumer segments. But I think where there is scope for synergies is in rest of the value chain, whether it's in terms of manufacturing, whether it's in terms of third-party procurement, whether it's in terms of supply chain. So it's a tricky balance of ensuring that both the brands continue to retain their identities in the consumer's mind, and we basically extract efficiencies by consolidation in the entire value chain. So that's how we're looking at it going forward.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's also maybe another opportunity where, you know, when you're young and you're kind of Netflixing and chilling, you think more about Sleepyhead. And as you grow a little older and your health starts to deteriorate a little bit and you realize that sleep is actually pretty important, there's an opportunity to transition a Sleepyhead customer to Duroflex. It's not an easy transition, but I think we'll find a way to do it over time. Our biggest competition is Netflix, the mobile phone,
Of course.
caffeine,
Screens.
caffeine, alcohol, and all other dopamine.
Hold on to that thought, gentlemen, because we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back to talk about how Duroflex plans to carve out a bigger share of India's growing sleep solutions market.